last night, apparently.
Okay.
I assume it was something about budget. Yeah, could be.
There's let me start. I've got a couple of things that I want to make mention of before I open things up or before I go through the list of things that the city has prepared. But I think, as most of you know, we've pretty much been engulfed in the budget workshop process. And one of the things that we've seen in this heat wave that we're experiencing is that while we've made progress on our water and sewer, pipes, we by all means we have not solved it. We're up to, I think, in about a 4-week period, up to about 5 water main breaks. So, which is much less than the 10 to 12 that we saw, but it is this time period in the July, August, and early September where the heat and the movement and the lack of rain or disproportionate places for rain, that you see a lot of the shifting. And I've had numerous discussions with Public Works Director Paul Lopez that the good news here is it's the brakes have all been on our older infrastructure. The new materials and the repairs that we've done are holding up quite well, which is what you would expect. Or if it didn't, I'd be really upset. Say it that way. But that's one of the reasons why I want to mention about the budget is I'm really pleased with what we've done on council in looking at the water and sewer fund. We believe for the next at least the next 2 years, we're going to be able to expend about $7 million from the water rate changes that not only we made, but we actually tweaked them again. And that should provide Paul Lopez and his team and the people that we contract out to again just replicate the number of linear feet that we did this past 12 to 15 months, that we're going to have it for the next 12 to 15 months. We're believing that the folks that have been doing the work have been doing a really good job. If you remember, this is the second contractor that we had. The first one was pretty messy, and we discontinued their services and went to the next. And they've done a really good job. And since they're mobilized, since they're here, we think they're going to probably be the top bid, and I hope so, because I'm very, very committed to have a constancy of purpose here. I really want us to get out of the old infrastructure of water main breaks, and while we've made good progress, it's again this time period is showing just how much more we still have to do. But we were able to work so that we can actually do some financing, do some things where we're going to amass, like I said, a little over seven. I think it's quite almost close to $7.5 million to be able to do that. And that'll pretty much not be on the backs. It will not be done anything on property taxes. I'm a big believer. I think council is a big believer that the water and sewer fund has to stand on its own feet. And for that matter, that's why we are making sure that fund is walls to say that it's going to have the funds to be able to do the capital structure that we need. Again, the tweaking is going to be primarily on the large commercial consumers, because they're the ones that drive our size and the capacity that we need to have, and that's been probably the main focus for us on the budget. There's some other things that are going to take place, but we're going to have some of that discussion at council.
Just to be sure, so you're saying that with the rate increases, you're not looking to any bond issues for?
No. We're looking at the water and sewer fund that we are going to look at. We've looked at 5, 10, and 15-year bonds, Roscoe, and we're actually thinking that given what we have and the amount, we'll probably do either a 5 or a 10, and we will, but strictly on the water and sewer based off the correct, because we when we look at it, the amount of funds to be able to complete this. And I think the will of the council was we wanted to do it on the front end, not over like a 10-year period, that we wanted to just, what Paul has done. So I think you've seen the metrics before. In the past 12 months, we've done about 4 linear miles of water line replacement. And we're projecting we're going to be able to do another 4 miles of linear water.
How many linear feet of lines are there?
We believe, if I remember last time, and I'll come back to it, so this is what I remember. I think we've got about 11, not quite 12. So this will put us about 2/3 of the way done. Yeah.
You're looking at that next year.
It'll probably take a little longer than a year, Roscoe, because we're going to have to go through the RFP process. But it should be it should be almost identical, right? Because that's we tweaked the rates again a little bit because one, we didn't want to have a reserve issue on the water and sewer. I think there was one year where we may go. We may tax that, but I think Jaime has been very conservative in regards to revenues. But after that last, I'd say the third year, believe it or not, we're going to go very, very long on revenue for the water and sewer, which means we'll either do a sunset for these rates, or and Don, you'll love this, or we'll finally have about $1 million a year of discretionary funds to really address some big macro jobs of flooding, which would be my interest to do. But we'll see. That's not been something that's fully been discussed on council, other than just stage it like that we'd be able to do some large scale work, because the Jaime and others have determined very specifically our stormwater side can be run and financed out of our water and sewer fund, and not our general fund. And that would be my intention, that we would want to do that from this forward.
Is it wrong to think about that? We have a 50-year-old city, water and sewer are going to be less than 10 years old in the coming years.
Yeah, because I mean, right now we're pretty much done with the sanitary with this last tranche. Look at it, not all the city is in as bad a shape as some of the areas. That's why we started where we did. And I believe the 80-20 rule is going to, come in, that the parts that are maybe not quite 80, but this next tranche that we do will pretty much cover about 80 of the really bad acting areas for line breaks. And after that, we should have plenty of funds out of cash flow to be able to just do the remaining work.
Phil, aren't we also obligated for line replacement from the south?
Yeah, this is part of it, Roscoe. We've got 2 things that we're grappling with that were unexpected. I mentioned this a little bit in the coffee last time, so this may be a repeat, but I think it's good because people should know this. There is the main line coming from the southeast water treatment plant from the water plant that we get our service from. We've got about I think we're an 18-19% like minority partner in that venture, which you'll also see on council. We've got a contract that's been out there that we found needs to be executed. We very much do not want to lose that position at that water plant. But that comes down Highway 3. It's exclusively for us. We had planned on it being about $1.5 million. We've now been communicated to that it's going to be about $3.4 million over 3 years, which is bigger than, that's why we've grappled with this at council. Not only that, in doing the street repairs, I think you saw there was an exorbitant amount of time at Prince William and Upper Bay with construction there. The issue there was in that process, the crew nicked a force main, but it made us realize just how bad a condition the force main is, and that comes in all the way up from the Nass Road 1 does a shot down to the wastewater treatment plant, and it is one of our main force mains for the city. And it took forever for them to find really good ways to patch that, to be able to get onto good pipe, which means we got to replace it. Otherwise, that's a big problem if that pipe loses its integrity like we think. So we're going to do that, and that's going to be about $700,000-800,000 just to do that. In addition, we've got what I like to call is the manifold, and I'm really excited about this. If you can get excited about steel and pipe, the main header that comes in off the pipe from the southwest or the southeast water treatment plant that runs parallel to Nass Road 1 is all going to get replaced. And we're enlarging it. We're going from a 10-inch to a 12-inch. We're also in the discussions with Paul. We're going to take out a number of the 45s, the 90s, as much as we can. And that is going to be a real benefit to the pressure grid of Nassau Bay. If you look at two things that are in our control to make sure we get the ISO rating for insurance purposes, we're right at the cusp of going from a 2 to negatively impact us to a 3. We just got it, and it's good for 5 years. That we have a 2 rating, which we're the really that has that 2 rating for the surrounding for cities like ours, and that's a real tribute to Tom George, volunteer fire department, police, public works, all the things there. But the two things are we need a ladder truck and we need to increase the pressure. There was no question there are areas at the very far reaches of some of the parts of our city that has low pressure, which low pressure means less water, be able to pump at any given time. And in a fire, that's critical. And so we are continuing to evaluate the ability to make sure that that's a straight line, the header's enlarged, and we do everything to increase the pressure, which you'll see. I mean, I'm not telling anybody. I mean, we know we've got an old system. You turn on your water, and one of the big things I keep hearing is the pressure's low in Nassau Bay, and this should help us. So that's going on.
How much does a ladder truck cost? That bad, huh?
$2.1 to $2.2 million.
Mm-hmm.
And
Can we get a grant?
we think we might. I mean, there's even talk about going to Methodist to see that, but we've done a lot of this in the past. And one of the things is that just with everything, it's been very inflationary for what we've seen. And it's even the supply chain to get these things built take a minimum of 2.5 years to 3 years. So we're actually looking at signing up for one to get in the queue, and we believe with the debt coming off in 2027, we've got debt in 2029, and just when you look at the excess reserves that we'll have and certain things that we'll be able to afford it. So it's my hope, and Tom is going to be working with Matt, with Rod, and with others on the volunteer fire department to be in a position to recommend exactly what they want, exactly what we can get for any type of trade-in or things along that line, so we can make a decision in that first quarter as to whether or not to go forward and execute a PO for a ladder truck. So it's we will see. That's a lot of activity going on there, and I tell you, our guys on the volunteer fire department are just right on it. So if you look at the at the assessment, and this is one of the things is from the ISO standard or the ISO insurance rating. The ladder truck had not been a real defining negative against us. 5 years ago, out of a category of 5, we got 4 because we had very good relationships with mutual aid. So there are trucks, there are ladder trucks around. With the number of lifted homes, the growth of the buildings that are multi-story, things along that line. That did not pass along this go around. Out of, instead of a potential of 5, with the rating was potential of 4, but we only got less than 1. We got a 0.8, which means we lost like 3 points to our score. And the minimum score, and I know I'm going fast here, is an 80, and we're at now 80.91. So this, between that and some of the other things in training and some things like that, we're right at the cusp of losing our ISO, ISO rating of 2, and that's real money for people, folks. I mean, this is about insurance ratings. This is about, whether it's Allstate, whoever, insuring your home, look at these ISO ratings, and that's directly related to what you pay for insurance, and it's real money. So my intention is to do that. The other is I don't ever want to have our guys in the volunteer fire department feel like they have equipment for the job that needs to be done. I've talked to them already. Even the ladder truck at Seabrook is it's a 100-foot ladder truck, and in some of the things it is just making the ability to do some of the stuff. So I don't like just meeting the criteria. I think we need to make sure these guys have the tools and have the things necessary, because they are the best in the region, and I want to keep them that way.
Does Webster have a ladder truck?
They do. They do.
Is it at the fire station?
El Lago does not.
What if we partnered with them?
So that's what we have. We have a mutual aid to do with the things here. But even still, my view is that I kind of like to have things in my own determination. And, if we want to keep up the rating, we want to keep up the things like that, I think these are investments we'll have to make, or at least we're going to pretty heavily. So
where is that Southeast Water Plant at? The Highway 3 towards Ellington?
yeah, I remember it's right past, just off, correct me if I'm wrong, but it's just to the east of Ellington. So
Space Center.
Yeah.
Center.
Bluff, yep. So
Do we have any kind of PowerPoint presentation that shows in depth how our water system works from where it starts to delivery in Nassau Bay? I don't think I've
the only one I've seen, and that was what we did with Arc Engineering, was in the P&IDs that were for the whole water system, be it the water coming in or the sanitary going out. And we do have very detailed plans of our piping system now. We didn't do now.
It might be nice to put in the compass roads like a map of all the water, like the ones that were replaced and the ones that, and kind of show the community progress that's been made.
That's a good idea.
I mean, I'm a visual person. I like to see things. Oh, yeah, and I wonder if Nassau Bay want to cover any of that. I mean, we don't really have that anymore.
So I've been through Nassau Bay 101, so the answer is no to cover in detail. We did tour the water treatment plant, et cetera, so it's good, but not in depth.
I hate to say it, and it's just, but it's the infrastructure committee and the fund for quite a while, and a lot of it is in the memory of people as to where the bad actors are, but it also does show where the new stuff in, and you can see where Paul's tracking where the where the breaks are and where that. So that's all good. But
It would be good to have so that we understand, just like, you got long-term
Mm-hmm.
residents here, we don't even know where it goes from Ellington, how it comes in point of entry.
Yeah, I've seen that, but I don't know if it's in our files. I'd have to look, Pete. I really remember in discussions, I've seen a map, but it's been 10 years since I've seen that map. So
Is that something that Jaime can work?
I'm sure, or Xena.
And then Phil, another question along those lines is right across Cal Bayou on Egret Bay Boulevard, the Fay and Ned Dudney Nature Park that is
Mhm.
currently closed, and it's apparently been closed and gonna be closed for several months because they're replacing water lines.
Mm-hmm.
Are you aware of that, and do those water lines have any impact on Nassau Bay?
I do not believe they have impact on Nassau Bay, but that came up. Somebody mentioned that they were doing work over there, and I was not aware of it, Pete. So I have some questions, but I was really not aware that was water lines.
Right.
So, no. Yeah. Anything else on the budget or anything?
Do we have any idea what our water loss rate is, what percent? There was something recently in the Houston Chronicle about Houston was a huge amount, I don't know, 30-40%.
When I've asked Paul that, it's been kind of anecdotal, based off pressure and stuff like that. But I think he's of the 10%, less than 10.
What comes out of the
Correct.
treatment plant versus what we build.
Yeah, I mean, if you really look at it, Glenn, I mean, we've got issues with our water lines obviously breaking, which would be the consumption there, but we've also got intrusion of stormwater into our sanitary side too, which I'm determined to fix. We haven't talked about that. That's not a lot that impacts the residents, but it does impact the plant, and it does impact our environmental compliance, and it could really, if it gets too bad, it really hinder the operation of that plant. Because in a rain event, we get quite a bit of storm intrusion into those sources. The other thing that we have on here, and again, I'm really wanting to support the guys on our public works. Doing this next tranche of water line rehabilitation. Just I want to get out of these water breaks like we've done. I don't want to take away what we've done, but we still got a lot of work to do. But we're also supporting Paul in looking at smart meter replacement for water meter reading for consumption. And the amount of labor that goes into just having to read meters is just, anybody who's been in the industry like mine and chemical, you just don't do that anymore. It's just a very, very low value added exercise for resources, and it's one of the last things I would like to see our guys do is just have to go out there and read a meter. They have more important things to do, and that's one I think we can get off. And not only that, it'll not only free up, but it'll also be very accurate in the consumption, and it will allow citizens to be able to turn their water off if they're leaving. It'll allow us to turn off water during a hurricane. And folks, with all this heat wave coming, I'm really worried about September 1. It's for hurricane activity, and I'm hearing the temperatures out in the Gulf are all-time highs, and I'm hoping that El Nino does, or whatever it is, El Nina or El Nino, I don't know which one, keeps moving things to the east, but there's a constellation of events right now that could really, really negatively impact us. So be careful be prepared is what I would say.
So if I understand you right, the resident will be able to easily turn off their water.
Correct. Correct.
Right now it's real tough.
It's real tough. Correct.
Call the city sometimes.
Barbara?
As you're talking, I'm thinking, we depend on Paul a lot.
We do.
Is there anybody that's shadowing him, or if something happens to Paul, can step in?
A lot of the supervisors, we've got, ARC engineering also, but even that is sufficient. I think you raise a good point.
Paul takes care of it.
I mean, if Paul got hit by a truck, we'd feel it.
Yeah.
We would feel it. I mean, let me say it differently. We've done we've got the largest reinvestment of infrastructure going on as we speak. We $7-8 million the last year and a half. We're going to spend another $7-8 million the next. We're going to spend $15 million over 3-4 years, and that goes all right through Paul. So I mean, anybody who thinks, may even think about being critical of Paul, they need to look themselves in the mirror.
To wrap him in.
I mean, and then I think he's actually really gotten, particularly in the last couple of years, is really done well managing contractors.
Oh, yeah,
And-
he's phenomenal.
And he's done a good job there. And we're seeing the things, and I think he's committed too. I think he really likes the what we're doing and is bought on that we want to create. And I don't know if it was who said it was. I think it was Brian. We really want to be able to have newer infrastructure than, say, League City as a 60-year-old city. So that's my intent. And but yeah, there's a lot of work going through there, and he's got some good help. But that's one of the things here is in the budget workshop. We've had a lot of difficulty recruiting people for public works, and my view is, here's the things is that you either pay or you're going to have a gap when you have this many people that we've been trying to get in and been unsuccessful. We're competing with dynamics that are ones that you got to either make that decision. Are you willing to say you're going to defer because you don't have enough guys, and or are you going to say this is too core to what we're doing and you've got to pay the price? And not only that is, when we did these in the plants at Exxon and things like that, you not only have to be worried about what your starting is, but you can't have wage compression. Otherwise, you tick off everybody who's in the group too.
And they wave at you as they go out the door.
Yeah, they do. And so from my standpoint, you're going to see two things. Is there's a real, I know from my exposure into a lot of the operating plants that the starting wage for a lot of the plants is $26 an hour. And I'm not saying we have to be there, but I'm willing to do that because I think we can't sacrifice our constancy of purpose in doing this 15 million, and it's probably going to end up $20 million of expansion, if we don't have the folks. And I do know that, and I'll come to it because I'm really dismayed at losing Kirk, but I'll come back to that. Anyways, I hope that answers your question.
I just am concerned about Paul.
Yeah.
He's just carrying a tremendous burden.
He has had some health problems.
If somebody says something ugly about him, call me.
I will.
I'll come.
Well, I'll be with you.
Wear my teacher hat,
I'll be with you. I mean, that's.
because it's just not acceptable.
So Phil, did you already talk about Kirk? Can you share something?
I will, but I want to save that to the end because I'm sure that's going to be a discussion item.
Also, maybe what Jamie said about the GDP and high school.
Yeah, that's what I wanted to say. That's a really good point. There's two things that we're looking at. I may mention is one, we're really wanting to make sure we have the right wage, but also Cheney suggested, and we're gonna allow it, is to waive the need for a high school or GED requirement, particularly on the Parks and Rec side, because a lot of that is more manual type stuff, and we would like to even have a program to help them be able to get a GED, but it would mean that we would take a new demographic for sourcing those positions, and I think that's one that's I think a good idea. So we're going to do that.
There's a lot of ways to reach out to the Garden Reserve around here, to, employment networking.
I think we do that, with Cheney. I think she's been pretty good at that. I mean, I'm going to just say this is they're given the labor situation. I mean, everybody's dealing with labor situations, and from at least where I sit, having people come in to do, water main break digging, and all the work and the manual labor associated with that, when it's 102, 103, 100, 110, 117, heat index, people they're just not doing it. You're seeing a generation of people that's just not what they want to do, and they're choosing not to do it. And everybody's doing that. So you've either got to find creative ways to look at people maybe who are very, very adept at manual work and help them get their GED, which helps them down the road. Or you've got to pay the extra wage that'll have people consider doing that. And that goes from everything around, just out in the parks and digging up stuff and fixing things. And, it's a real challenge, and it's not something just unique to Nassau Bay. Everybody's got these challenges. It is the challenge of today.
As the fellow that was, in the National Guard, or whatever, that was posted down the border, has he returned yet from public?
I don't know the answer to that, but I'll find out, Roscoe.
Because he was supposed to be there for a year.
Yeah. I don't think it's been quite a year, but I mean, I'll find out. I don't know the answer to that. I do know we've got a guy coming in today, I believe, that's on the Parks and Rec today or Monday. So
Sometimes their deployments are up to 2 years.
this one was only a year. This one was only a year.
They keep up, and more people are coming in.
Yeah, but I mean, and not only that is, I mean, in Parks and Rec, we've got people who come in, and I kind of like this, but it just says there's still places they want to come into the utility side because it's better pay and it's higher skill and it's transferable. So we've got people that have gone. We say we've lost people to Parks and Rec, but we've gained people in the utility side.
The other thing is that you didn't mention is a good working environment.
Yeah, I think that's right.
And taken less pay because the environment was good than working over here where they were paying me a lot more, but I couldn't stand it.
Yeah, I mean,
and part of it, you like coming to work.
I think that's right, Barbara. And I know, and like I said, I'll come back. I know that was a situation with Kirk. So I actually have a very good relationship with Kirk, and I understand, and I'll come into that. But there's two other things I wanted to mention first. Things I that have been high on people's lists, and there's one that's not on people's radar. We've entered into a relationship with the Bell Harbor Homeowners Association, as the Economic Development Corp, and we are partnering with them and doing kind of like a 50-50 cost sharing to help rehabilitate the marina there in Bell Harbor. So I feel very strongly that those citizens on that side tend to not get the focus of Nassau Bay proper. They pay their taxes just like everybody else. And if you look at kind of the disbursements of some of our revenues, I mean, it's a little bit of a newer section, but as you can see, we did a lot of road repair over in Bell Harbor. And this is one of the things that came up as something they needed help on. So the Economic has entered into a partnership to be able to help that, which will mean between the two of them, there'll be about $200,000 to $210,000 worth of expenditures to rehabilitate the Bell Harbor Marina.
Does that open the EDC up for requests from the Nassau Bay Homes Association?
I tell you the truth, I hope so, Roscoe. I mean, if I say policy, I wish we would have even a macro, homeowners association made up of all 13 to be able to see how we could coordinate with one entity that would allow us to be able to support each other, because I think we're stronger together than we are separate, given all that's happening in Austin. I need their help. So
There needs to be some way that we don't meet those people. There's no social interaction.
they're really, I'm gonna try to change that, Barb, because
We need something that will give us some social
I-
interaction so that you can build relationships with the people.
I've reached out to Megan. I've reached out to Matt down at Bal Harbor. We're beginning that, but I mean, in my view, there's things. I mean, God bless them. I mean, with this whole STR thing, if they get into a legal fight, they don't have any money to do it. I mean, they're a little bit of a straw house, and bless their hearts for doing what they're doing. But eyes wide open, everybody. I mean, this is when you start talking about it, they're continuing to restrict the city's ability, our ability to do things, and it's really pushing it towards the homeowners, and they really don't have any money. When I look at beautification and stuff like that, the entry where the roads going north and south off that is a lot of those are homeowners association property. We had to bend over backwards to paint the white wall right there by Point Lookout, but there's equally every one of those white brick entryways are owned by the homeowners associations, and there's also beautification areas that are maintained by the homeowners associations that aren't well funded, not like what we do, and I'd like to change that if I can. So Roscoe
We need
and
a way to build social relationships with the different people in the community.
but I mean, I would support that, Roscoe.
Yeah,
So
I don't know how to do it, but I wish I did.
I wish there was one organization, quite
Or
honestly.
just a place where people could go and play dominoes or bridge
Yeah,
or whatever, so
Well,
that you meet people.
Phil, it would start by having the HOAs come to city council meetings or coffee and tell us what's going on, like Matt at Bal Harbor, never heard of him, never heard that we
Matt
even
Long.
had an issue
Yeah.
with the marina. First I've ever heard of that, but I've never seen him come to any meeting. Now, we got Megan to come from our largest, 900 homes out of 1,200 homes from Nassau Bay homeowners, which is good, right? You got a relationship going, but we need you to get those other 12
Well,
to be involved.
well, 6 of the 13 are defunct, right? I mean, I don't even who to call.
So I put together, when I was president of the HOA, I put together a PowerPoint presentation of all 12. The HOA, Nassau Bay should still have that, and that had the presidents, had the number of homes.
Well, there's 6 that are truly defunct, and that's another problem. But in any event, it's something that I think, if from my perspective, and I believe even on council and things like that there needs to be closer coordination and closer mutual support between the homeowners association, particularly with what's going on in Austin.
So
Suggestion, Barbara's comment, Bal Harbor, the local community manager over there, is a beautiful place to meet.
It is.
I mean,
It
it's a
is.
gorgeous place.
Which I intend to have another town hall meeting. Just I mentioned this last time. I'm going to try to do it before Labor Day, because I want people to be able to have a public hearing on the the budget going out. I want to get people's input before we finalize it. That would be my intention, to have it there like I did before. I would want to continue. I'd like to do it quarterly if we can. What else?
hey, Phil, just before we leave that, just a suggestion. Take one of your city council members, make them point person on the HOAs, and have them
Maybe
bridge
so.
that, and then report on that monthly, solve that, then you get them involved, good things will happen.
So I think that's a good suggestion, Pete. The other topic I wanted to bring up was the pipe shop. I've had quite a number of people continue to call me about that. If you haven't heard, the legal ruling that they had to go through the specific use permit process has been upheld. The other thing too is I've got to do a shout out to the folk at Irma's. I want to do a shout out to some of the other liquor stores here in Nassau Bay. Particularly the gentleman who owns the liquor shop on Upper Bay Road as you're on the right side as you're heading south. We actually have very few news where people are selling vapes or the CBD oil. In fact, I was actually shocked by how little we have, and the one that's the largest is Irma's, the medical guidelines of doctors, believe it or not. CVS has lotions for it for pain, but nothing combustible or anything like that. Nothing that would be considered similar to what a pipe shop would do. So all the analogies that people have put on about, what Irma's may be doing or was doing does not have similar products or things like that. And I have now been educated by John and his wife quite a bit about synthetic marijuana, about the different products that go in there, the bad aspects of that, let alone the drug paraphernalia shop. We don't even have to even talk about these type of products. And so from my perspective, we're on very, very strong grounds for the specific use permit around that. And I believe it's been scheduled with the planning and zoning for September 5th for the there, and then it'll come to council not on the 11th, but it'll be in October.
So that shop is almost finished.
I know.
I mean, they've got everything set up in there.
So one of the things we found, Gail, is our process for occupancy is disjointed. And one of the things Zena is doing, which is I'm glad she's doing what she's doing, is she's integrating all the different pieces from business certification to occupancy, permit to being able to actually, specific use and putting it into one document so that you can't get a CO, a certificate of occupancy, without any of the others. And right now, if you talk to them, they were said that they were given the go ahead for occupancy, and Roscoe, that's mind boggling with a specific use permit. It's just how disjointed, because we've got the building department, we've got Tiffany, we've got the city secretary, and we got the planning commission all having a role here, and they're operating unintegrated, independently.
Well, that's part of the problem, is all the transition of building officials or lack thereof.
Yeah.
And also, unfortunately, possible interpretations of the code.
What I was surprised at is a lot of these things have been going through the police department, not the building department. Tiffany does a whole lot of the things for certification and things like that. And I don't know when that really started. And I think it was done just to be facilitating, but that's years old, not months old. And
But you don't want a company, you don't want a business spending money to get into a place.
I agree.
When, after a year or something, then they can't get the occupancy.
I even looked at it here is that as we were going through this whole process about whether or not it's a specific use, they said, come on, people, we got to get on with it, because these people are going forward under the impression that they're just starting a business. I mean, if there's an issue, they need to know about it. I mean, we got to be good stewards to be able to communicate properly, good and bad news. And it's they've got to run their lives too. That's how I feel. So.
Wouldn't that be part of the landlord too? The landlord, they could rent it out to?
Yeah, but I would hope so. But I mean, at the end of the day, they're trying to rent out their place, which
Yeah, but they should know.
they should. They should. And the other thing, but it also tells me, and this will probably ring some recall, that we've got the the small shop, street mall, or right there by Five Guys of 5 or 6 places, that we still don't have any indication as to what's going in there. And they look done, but we have not. But I mean, this is why we have to have these systems in control, because if they're operating independently, even with all the good intentions, things that would we would want and should stop wouldn't.
Hey, Phil, is anybody from the city being proactive and approaching those 5 strip mall stores
Mhm.
and the manager or the owners, et cetera?
Correct.
In the past, we had Mary Chambers, who actually did a pretty good job of knowing about new businesses coming in.
Mhm.
We seem to have lost that.
Yeah, I mean, to me, believe it or not, that's supposed to be part of the city secretaries, if you look in our charter, that's supposed to be for all certifications of all businesses coming in, come through the city secretary's office. And that has not been happening. I think we made choices to dilute or move those responsibilities outside, but that's in our charter. And I think what I'm feeling, and I think this is something here, that the others on council, is we've had over the past 10 years, we've had people backfilling and doing things, I think, out of the intention that was good, but it meant we lost track of some of the things that were, stick to your knitting, make sure that you have some of the core things owned by the places it needs to be owned.
So as it stands now with this CBD pipe shop, what's the percentage chance that it goes through and it opens?
I believe let me say it this way. I've gotten no has come to me and said, Phil, I really want you to fight to put in that pipe shop. To say it that way, Pete. So I find it going to be hard pressed for this to go through a planning commission and say it's going to come with a unanimous approval because somebody's fighting for that, or through council. I think
They cannot open the store
correct.
unless this happens.
And I would even say this is from the consensus that I've heard is most people would like this council to make sure that the business they are going to be there, that they do that because a competent judge of a jurisdiction that has authority over that says they have to. And I mean that very specifically.
15 years ago, there was a smoke shop that came for a specific use permit, and its name was Sky High, which didn't know what their cause was. And so we came to the planning commission for a specific use permit. The audience was quite full. Chief Cassioli was here. Now, I've talked this issue recently with Greg. The chief, they were selling bongs and things like that, which is not illegal, interestingly enough.
Mm-hmm.
But the implications there, and so the chief certainly did support it. Dick Greg says, we can't prevent selling bongs, but I think public opinion, certainly 15 years ago, was dead set against that shop, which now has gone across the street.
Yeah, correct.
From us.
So is it a place, a smoking establishment, or is it just selling equipment?
Selling them. So there are, I mean, this isn't a gray area. There are laws around drug paraphernalia and things along that way, which is why I'm again, the basis for the issuance or lack thereof of a specific use permit is not on whether they can do a bong or whether they can for things like that. It's the nature of the business itself and the zoning that it's there. And if you look at it, there's a autistic pediatric group within very sharp, I've walked this, folks. I've talked to every gas station, every liquor store, CVS, and Irma's to just get their feel, their take. And I've walked there. If you look at it, there's schools at the Baptist church, and there's schools at Gloria Day, and there's the pediatric autistic center right behind them. So, having this type of business, and particularly if there's any view on the synthetic marijuana, which as a smoke shop, I haven't seen that there, but if there's Delta 8 or Delta 9 that's being sold there, yeah, I've learned a lot here, folks. That's all about psychoactive materials, which would be very much within the realm of us to control and not be part of the zoning.
Delta 8 was outlawed briefly.
Briefly.
And then it was allowed to, I guess, a federal judge overturned it or something.
But there's also Delta 9 now, and that is not.
Now you're above my pay grade.
And I mean, I kid you not, I even wrote down here, I didn't mean it for here, but the amount that's gone in here is just unbelievable. It's not easy but there's literally, I'm just going to guess, 30 brand names now of Delta 8 and Delta 9. But just like we can't stop people from putting in a liquor store, we have can be based off our zoning. We can't. They're still allowed to sell liquor, and I don't want to get into the argument around saying, what products they can or can't. It's the establishment, what they're doing, and that the facilities have children and children spaces that is inappropriate for that in that zoned area.
Does the business owner know that the city residents aren't excited about them coming in?
I believe he does now. Because I know he's not too happy and was, I think he's signed a lease, and this is where some of the things you were talking about, Gail. I mean, is there should be conversations that shouldn't economically or negatively impact a business owner, even if there's a disagreement as to whether that should be there or not.
Do you think the landlord for those commercial spaces, if Dina gets this document together, could have this document and say, hey, this is what the city of Nassau Bay expects, this is the process.
Yep.
And that way they could just hand them something.
Yeah.
And then they know.
I think we have stuff on our website, but it's not easy for somebody to find. I mean, they have hard enough trouble just finding an SUP permit. We had to send it to them. So, I mean, but that's at least where that stands, and that's where, I stand. It is not something that I want to get into, can you sell a pipe? Can you sell CB oil? Are we selling it here or there? It's a drug paraphernalia doing things that replicate synthetic marijuana, and it is a venue for children, and there's children around there that we should not allow to locate in that.
Or they smoke it on site.
So either or, they are definitely a smoke. I mean, they're geared towards combustibles.
So do they have lounge chairs sitting around there?
I did not see that, but what I saw looking in there, and I haven't gone by where I know some people have and talked to them, but I mean they've got a very long glass casing down to the left. They've got like an L shaped on the other side. They've got crack pipes. I mean, they're truly the glass crack pipes. No, they have truly the glass crack pipes. And then they have bongs on the other side. They have the whole thing about, they have a banner that goes smoking, up across that. And it's all geared for combustible drugs. There's very clearly, marijuana leaves all over the place.
So, Phil, it sounds like the owner's out thousands of dollars for a year's lease. Sounds like. Does the city have any liability because of the foul process?
I don't think so. I mean, what it probably means is he's going to want to fight. Right? No, because he didn't give a specific use permit. It's very clear that it's his responsibility to get the proper permitting.
But would Nassau Bay work with him if he, okay, fine, let's You go
let's,
someplace
don't-
else and we're gonna help you out here because we kind of drug our feet or not admit to anything, but just help them.
I will see, but I mean, I want to be very careful here.
Yeah.
I want to be very careful here, and
Isn't that whole center owned by somebody out of town?
I'm sorry, pardon me?
Isn't that whole center owned by somebody that doesn't even live in the United States?
One that Mediterraneo's in there? I don't know, Barbara. I mean, I know at one time it was not, but I haven't kept up with who owns that strip center.
Seems like it's somebody out of Korea, but that's just in my memory.
Yeah, I don't know.
They own the one, is it the same owner that owns where Bon Appetit is?
No, that's a different one. So this is where this pipe shop is locating.
No, I know where it's at.
Yeah, correct. Oh, you mean the owners?
The
Do they own
Right.
both? Is what you're saying?
So
Yeah, no,
Bill,
they own a lot of
Yep.
property.
Yep.
so for the 5 businesses that are gonna open do we have anybody at the city that's being proactive to reach out?
Yeah,
to
we
them?
actually, and we've talked about this, and we've had some humor in going, is that they're being very much standoffish. The city's has tried to reach them multiple times, and they said it's none of your business.
There you go.
And I don't know why anybody would take that position, because it is our business.
They're trying to rent.
But as long as they follow our laws, they're right. It is none of our business. I mean, if they do things, if they put in restaurants, they put in things like that don't have a drive-through, and it is none of our business. And I believe that. But for people, usually they want to have a good relationship with their local community, and for us not to know is just not a strategy I would advise somebody to take. Actually, our antenna's up.
So I think it's about your approach too, so I don't know who's working on that, but you might look at the people and the skill level involved in the communications, because it worked before for us. And
Yep.
we knew what was coming in, again, back with Mary Chambers and Roscoe, we knew. We didn't know what business was being negotiated, but we knew there was negotiation going on. And then when a lease was signed, we knew about it well before they opened. And we've lost that.
I'm not so sure I agree with
Oh,
that,
yeah,
Pete.
I agree. Pete, this started back, I think Barry was still here when
Correct.
the first action started. And there was a lot of probing on it. And they first came back and said that there were commercial proprietary things that they wanted to hold back.
Yeah.
And, you can sort of accept that, but then just continue to drag on. So I don't think it's for lack of talent. I think it's literally just snowballing.
Yeah, I don't agree that there aren't people who are out looking at the new businesses and doing things like that. The question is, I see some of the things disjointed where people don't always know when a specific use permit needs to be done, and we could have had a certificate of occupancy done that would have been, would have been, you can't unring that bell once you give a CO. I mean, they're going to say, I've got a permit to occupy, leave, right? So either you enforce your zoning or forever hold your peace. But in all of the things that have been going up, it's been pretty much, people are aware of it, people are doing it, and then the question is are we processing it right? We have nothing to work on for the 5 shops, even though we've asked multiple times.
That is such a weak business anyway. I mean, they don't last too long in a lot of cases.
Yep.
For example, by Ray's Italian across the street, and there's been a couple of shops like that in there, and they last just a few months. And they're gone.
Yep. So,
And going back to the smoke shop and addressing Pete and Phil, in terms of what might happen at the planning commission meeting, I think citizens should appear there, but I really like what Phil says, that the approach that should be taken in terms of protesting the location of it is proximity to things like schools.
correct.
I think that's a very strong point.
It's the purpose of zoning. I mean, it's because I had heard when it was discovered that Irma has CBD oil, then that drops our whole argument, and it does not. And to me, it's more, what is that business trying to do, and where is it located relative to other businesses, and what zoning laws do we have in order to be able to separate those things, and not a cocaine pipe or a crack pipe or a bong or CBD oil. It's just we've got their business is and particularly if it's to facilitate synthetic marijuana, which is psychoactive. That's perfectly within our bounds to control where that goes, and that would be my argument. So very, very much trying to make sure this is done properly. It's coming up on 10 o'clock. I did want to talk about Kirk, and I think that's a real loss for our city. I will say though that some of the communications that have gone on are really not accurate in what they're describing. I know Kirk had some family issues. I know one of the reasons that are there is the amount of people we even have in Parks and Recreation. I think we've done a disservice to that group not to have a full staff, and that's why I was at the really pushing on raising the wage rates. But at the same time, I'm going to say this is Kirk had a very honest, very lengthy exit interview with Cheney. Excuse me, I got mind blank there. With Cheney, and he wanted that to be given the express permission of 4 individuals to be able to see it, because he wanted to send a message. And I think the 4 people, just so you know, are Cheney, Paul, Zena, and myself, because I think there was a purpose behind why he was saying what he was saying. I think some of the information that I see that's been put out, particularly about particularly myself as well as another council member, is not the reason. There's not things that are going to be actionable. I'm going to take it very much to heart with some of the things that I heard Kirk say, and specifically about just the workload that's there, but also things that impact family members. And I don't want to go into too much, because he said he really wanted to keep this to people who have the ability to make a change. And I think he made a personal decision here to be able to his family. And Kirk, if you're watching this, I really wish you the best. You were a gentleman who not only did a lot of good work, but you were just a pleasure to work with. And you had an attitude which was just fantastic. And I enjoyed working with you. We did a lot together. But also I want to say something, and I saw a communication that was going on that has really been inaccurate. And I think this city staff, I usually don't say anything, because I think some of these things just aren't worth the argument going forward. But I had several on staff ask me to speak up, and I've had several on council to speak up. And I'm gonna mention a couple things, communication that went around, and one that was very sensitive was about staff that are leaving. And there was a example of Hannah that was raised as somebody who left the city staff, and that is very inaccurate. I want to give great kudos to Cheney. If you don't know, Hannah was probably the single employee in the staff that came under great criticism from the community. There were many mistakes on the Compass Rose. There were many things that were policy actions that she was disregarding, and she did not leave on her own volition, as some would say. She was asked to leave. We separated from Hannah, and those are very difficult, but I give Cheney great credit. I really appreciate that she knew the standards that we had, because it had created quite a commotion for how she was discharging that position. And I don't want people to have the perception that either people on staff chased her off, people on council. That was a performance issue, and I think I stand behind Cheney, and I think that's the right decision. And from what she told me and the things that I had heard, I think it was exactly right on. The finance officer, for those who don't know, Jaime is our finance director. He was promoted, and he is absolutely doing a fantastic job. He's not filling in for anybody. He is our permanent finance director. He solicited and was promoted. And I believe what we've seen from the budget cycle, he has been the knowledgeable resource and the workhorse behind the years that we've been doing things here. So he is doing a fantastic job, and I hope he's here for a very long time. So I don't want there to be a view that these are non-permanent, that they're people have earned, and that they're doing a good job, because the staff needs to know that they have the support of the community. And that is very much the case here, particularly for those two. On the city manager and the city secretary position, I've kind of turned the other cheek with a lot of the activities and the description. But I'm going to start drawing a line here, because I do not believe 7 people on council had anything to do with the decision that Paul McClarty and Sandra Ham did in a relationship. I worked well with them. I liked them. I really wish them the best. They I believe fell in love, and it had an implication for the city. And I would do the same thing today as things came, because I'm here under the authority to protect the citizens of Nassau Bay. And there is nothing that this council did to have them make those choices. Those were their choices, not council. And I think that needs to be said. And I don't think anybody, where you bring in somebody as like a CEO, and within 90 days and is in a relationship with a direct report, is just even tolerated, and it's just not. And that's created a lot of the havoc that we've had. But I believe the council made a right decision in regards to elevating Zena. I think people saw the value of having Brad when he and the chief and that construct, so we had the proper authority to make decisions. But Brad wasn't here, and we needed somebody here, and it was the unanimous decision of council that we wanted to protect the police, that the public safety and the things along that line were just too important to have that position diluted. And Chief was not somebody who really wanted that position from the very beginning. And I think having that out and it's also that there's a shout out to somebody I want to give. Lacey has really stepped up. She is our deputy city secretary. A lot of people don't realize she's had 10, 12 years of government experience. She has been a shining light here. I believe she has aspirations to be a city secretary. I believe she has the potential for it, and I hope we as a city can help her in that regards. But we have a very strong individual there. We have freed up the police chief, and we've got Zena here to help make sure we keep any gaps until Nathan Bird shows up here in the first half of September. And to me, I don't want some of the politics and the rhetoric to impact what I think is a really great team that is coming together on city staff, and I don't want second guessing of things and inaccuracies to impact them because they've been through enough. And I think it's time we really look at the time to come. So, but I will make sure that the things here, Kirk, that the two things in particular I'll address, one of which is workforce. The other I'll keep between you and I.
How long was
Certainly
Kirk
the
with
loss
us?
of Kirk is a big blow to the city, particularly since staff is short.
No question.
And I think it goes a little bit with what Barbara says. It seems to me that Public Works is understaffed, as you pointed out, it's got more water main work on than they can. They're overworked, and while some of the special events are great, unfortunately that requires Public Works work on.
No question.
They're spread beyond.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's what one of the things we were saying is, don't get me wrong. I think Kirk gave illustration to something that we need to fix, and I want to keep that because he didn't want to throw anybody under the bus, but I think he's got a valid point. We've got to have the right workforce, and if that's going to cost us $4 an hour more, it's going to cost us $4 an hour more, because I don't think anybody wants to have water lines that are flowing like Old Faithful. We don't want to have people that aren't there to help in regards to whether it's a trophy or whether it's a holiday in the park, Halloween, whatever. The guys do a great job, and when you're down 3 people, it falls to a couple of people doing 200% of the work, and that's just not, to me, that's just not fair. And it's why I kind of drew a line on making sure we pay the right wage. If that's the wage, then we have to pay it.
How long was Kirk with us? How many years?
I think only 4 years. I don't even think that. So he wasn't, we got a lot of people on there that's been like 30 years, but I believe Kirk was only here 4 years.
So are you practicing succession planning?
Yeah, I mean,
Are we doing that? Like you talk about how vital Paul is to us. If we lost Paul today,
I would,
we have a plan.
I would tell you right now, I think that's something that's going to be with the new city manager coming in, because I do believe that things are, I mean, we have a lot of systems things, and Glenn, this is something you've been a big advocate of, is on our management systems. I mean, we don't have a performance appraisal system. We don't do things like that. We don't have, succession planning the way we do. We do things with our comprehensive plan for directives and stuff like that going out. But is it what I call state of the industry? I'd say no. Don? contractors are all available.
Oh, we can get some in for some of these, we're being breaks. Our guys, I have contractors, some else, three meters. Lose, it's, 1 man week, 4 man weeks, a month.
It's, so something I'll say here, and I've been working, that's been my view too, Don. One of the struggles that we are having is that because labor is tight everywhere, this is not something just for us. So like, I'll give you an example. We're doing this right now is we're trying to look at tree trimming. And if we say we just want to do like one corridor as a test, the people who are doing contractors say that's not a big enough piece of business. I've got too few guys. I need you to commit to the whole city, or I got to say no. And we're running into that. And I mean, that's why I don't want people to think labor is just available everywhere. Things have changed since prior to COVID, quite a bit. Lots since we've all, for who are retired, have been involved. But I believe that's where you're going to see, Don, is that like when we paint streets, trim trees, do the curbs, stuff like that. I'd love to be able to do stuff for call outs for breaks, but usually the time frame is difficult. But it's going to be on contractors. And it is my desire and effort that I want to get guys out of digging for water main leaks, so we actually have a solid system. And I don't want our public works guys to be reading meters. There's so much more they could be doing than those tasks. Yep.
So will you be contracting out then the job of replacing the meters, or will our guys be expected?
No, I want to do smart meters. So smart meters are ones that communicate, and they,
where will they be located?
So it'll be located here at City Hall.
Okay.
It actually can be done on somebody's phone.
So what do we have at the homeowners then?
I'm sorry. So you would have something on the website that you would be able to turn it off. So
I think there's pros and cons and all that stuff.
Yeah.
there is.
We talked about like hurricane events and what, you don't have any ability to turn off.
No
Wi-Fi.
Well, or if you power,
No power.
if no power, you don't have power.
So Mayor, I have a recommended solution for the water meter reading. Since the typical resident uses 7,000 gallons a month, as per Robert, and most people's water does not vacillate that much month over month. You pretty much stay within your same water usage. Why don't we just go to a quarterly average of billing the residents? And if a particular homeowner has a problem with that, you go out, you read their meter each month. But by doing just a quarterly, like I use 10,000 gallons a month. Sometimes it's 9, sometimes it's 11, but it's always within that realm from summer. Just bill me the quarterly average. You still bill me monthly, but the average of what I use.
I've heard, and Don's smiling too, because this is what we floated here is even as a, you say quarterly, some people say just, you can cut down half a time just by doing it every other month, right? And then, billing for that, amount.
Would immediately save the man hours that we're losing each month.
So I think those are great ideas, Pete. I really do. I am not a fan. I mean, I think that's one of the things that you see in industry is people are really critically looking at how you spend your time on stuff, and there's just no value in just having the amount of time we take to like read a meter is just it's just way more. I mean, we can all think of the things that are there.
Hey, Phil, I have a 1 minute easy one before we break, right? Show of hands, everybody shop at CVS locally here, right? Everybody know who Rosie is?
Yeah.
Works the front counter, who's 90 years old. She just celebrated 25-year anniversary at CVS. They put a big card, her picture, everyone signed that. Can I make a suggestion that as mayor, we do a proclamation, like Mayor used to do like Nassau Bay Day for Rosie?
Yeah, I would love to do that. I know Rosie personally. I didn't know it was her. I didn't guess not enough because I didn't know it was her birthday.
I've been here 23 years.
Yeah.
My kids grew up with Rosie. We still talk about Rosie. I see her all the time. I hug her when I go in. We could invite her to come to a city council meeting. You can do a proclamation, Nassau Bay Day for Rosie at CVS. I just think that would be wonderful. And many people in Nassau, Rosie is, and she's well liked and admired.
Very good.
Drives from Meyerland every day.
Exactly.
I knew it was a ways.
Everybody knows. Look, everyone knows what she drives from Meyerland. She's 90 years old now. And so I think it would be amazing if you like me to be point on that and arranging with her.
Absolutely, Pete. Go for it.
All right. Did you hear what Laura just said?
I did not.
She drives that car, she loves the community, she loves working.
Yeah, she is something else. She is something else. Any other questions? Any other?
Tell Nathan, get ready, get over here.
Yep, he is. He will be here. And he said the latest he'll be here is the 11th for the city. NB, you did. You were the first one to tell me about
Well,
that.
you know, Nassau Bay is a bird sanctuary.
Yep. IRD, not URD.
You can use that one. Sarah, you can use that again.
How was that?
I just went into the agenda.
Well, yeah, afterwards.
My knees are getting old. I'm glad the rest of you are not following.
Be careful. Treat them well.
I'm trying.
I had to put mine in place.
I had my.
Thank you.
We're going on.
I need to go.